Right guys, first exercise we are going for lat pull downs. I'm just going to swap out the cable attachment to neutral grip. So we're going neutral grip lat pull downs, so the first exercise. Going 3 sets, just warming up first and then building into exercise number 1. One thing I think makes a massive difference, and it's so simple, is when you're doing your warm sets, especially at the start of a session, is actually to wear enough layers. Like ideally for YouTube, yeah, I should have this jumper off. I should just be wearing a t-shirt, you know, you can see things better. If I'm cold at the start of a session, it's going to take me so much longer to get warmed up. And to be honest with you, the first exercise will be a complete write-off. Whereas if I'm warm going into my first exercise, I can just do my warm sets and then get straight into it. Right, set number 1. I'm going to use straps this because I don't want my limiting factor to be my grip. I want it to be my back because that's the primary muscle I'm training. Obviously, I want to improve my grip strength, but I don't want the reason I fail the lift to be my grip. I want it to be the target muscle. Main aim, keep the chest up, drive the elbows into the sides, and then make sure I don't lean back excessively as I get tired. When it comes to picking your cable attachment, don't be afraid to try different attachments. Like, one's not always going to be best for you, and you can also swap them out through different training blocks. So maybe for an 8-week period, you could do something like a straight bar. Another 8 weeks, you could do something like a neutral grip. To be honest with you, I should really be doing single arm pull downs here, which would be a neutral grip, but just because of time, I'm just doing neutral grip with 2 hands. Right, so first pull down variation done. Now in the first rowing variation, I'm going seated row. I'm going to swap the cable attachment actually for the other neutral grip one rather than this one, just out of personal preference. You'll hear people demonize cable attachments, in particular this one. You just want to go with personal preference, go off feel a bit. Whatever you feel you can connect best with the target muscle, that's the one you should probably use, rather than just listening to someone you see online, maybe even including myself. You need to use what works best for you. You can see when I did that warm set there, I'm not able to get actually as good a stretch as I want because I can only come to here. That's just because of the position of my feet. So what I'm actually going to do is put something in front of my feet, just to allow me to go through a bit more range of motion. Thing is as well, the majority of the time the setup of the machine is going to work for you, but you always want to tweak it to make sure that you can get the most out of the exercise, because like this machine's just built for the general person. If you're 6'6" or 5'6", your arms are shorter, your arms are long, or your legs are shorter or long, like the machine doesn't know, it doesn't care. It's just kind of built for the average person, so you're going to need to tweak it depending on like your own size and the way you want to perform the exercise. Hamstrings are taking an absolute batter in there. My lower back's quite stiff, purely just from going into that lowering phase. I can feel how tight my hamstrings are, so yeah, that's not good. You just need to be careful of your rest times, because if you rest too long, your heart rate will drop, and yes, you might lose focus between sets, because you know if you rest 5 minutes, you're scrolling your phone. By the time you go into your next set, your focus will be gone, your heart rate will be too low, and you mentally won't be ready to go into the set. On the other hand, you just need to make sure that you rest long enough, because if you don't rest long enough, you're going to carry fatigue in from the previous set. So you need to figure out what works best for you. Like, you see some of the best bodybuilders in the world rest in 1 minute, and then you see others rest in 2.5. So if they can have variations and they're the best in the world, then you might have some variation too from the guy that's training beside you. The mistake you'll make with the rows is they think momentum is the ultimate enemy, but you're going to have a wee bit of movement in your torso. You need to figure out exactly what's an acceptable amount of movement, because too much movement, it turns into back extension. Not enough movement, you probably won't be able to produce as much force as you could. So just standardize your reps and have an acceptable amount of movement as you get tired towards the end of your set. You want to look as close to the same as possible, but it won't look the exact same. Third exercise of the day is a seated row. I'm going to do it with a cable. So obviously single arm cable row, bench supported. I'm going to set the bench up in line with this cable and then get into the warm sets. For your cable rows, just make sure the bench is set up in line so that you're not able to pull straight with one hand, and then you're not having to wrap around the bench in order to be able to grab the cable with the other hand. So just make sure it's set up perfectly in line with the middle of the bench. Otherwise, you're going to start moving the bench mid-set. So you can see there, because of the position of the bench, I don't really need to lean too far to one side or lean too far to the other side. I also don't even move the bench after doing my right arm, then when I'm doing my left arm. So just have the bench set up, just so you don't have to interrupt the flow of the exercise. Just during your rows, make sure that your hand's not coming towards your shoulder, because then you're turning into a bicep exercise. If I come from here to here, there's a lot more happening in the bicep than there is happening in the back. Yes, my back's still doing something, but as the focus of the exercise is my back, I want to get that hand away from my shoulder to get a better contraction in my back and make sure my biceps not taking over the lift. Need to brace hard here, make sure I'm in full control of the weight. The weight's not moving me. You might find on something like a cable row that you hit a sticking point halfway through the set. Don't bail out. Don't just stop because you've hit a sticking point. Give it a second. Even if you have to hold for a second at a sticking point and then try and work through it. Don't just go, oh, I've hit a sticking point, I need to stop. It's not necessarily failure. You might just get stuck on one rack. Right, set 2. I need to make sure I create a solid enough base with this supporting arm. I need to produce as much force as possible. If I don't stabilize enough, I'm not going to be able to lift as heavy. I'm not going to get as much in the exercise. So I need to stabilize with my hand and also make sure my feet are planted properly. Otherwise, I'm going to be all over the place. The cable's going to pull me back into the machine. Right, last back exercise is cable pullovers. If you're training in the gym, actually has a pullover machine, that's another option, but I'm just going to use the cable and then a straight bar. So main focus here is just to get a good stretch in the lats. That should be far too easy, but after 3 other back exercises, that's actually surprisingly difficult. There's a couple of really simple things I want to avoid here. One is basically turning the tricep push down, or the other thing is firing my hips back in order to generate loads of momentum. So I want to keep everything still apart from really my shoulder. Right, that is back finished. Now time for shoulders. Going for the main shoulder exercise to start with, which is going to be seated dumbbell overhead press. You could do barbell overhead press or machine overhead press, but I'm going dumbbell today. So if you want reps, 15, then in the 20s, and then in the 30. When it comes to your shoulder press, just make sure the bench is at the right angle. If it's too flat, it's basically a chest press, and if it's too vertical, it mightn't be as comfortable on the shoulder joints. So probably one run from vertical is your best bet because it's going to allow you to press straight to the roof without having to jam your shoulder and put yourself in the position which mightn't be that comfortable to press in. Right, that's the warm up done. Now into the 30s. I wasn't bad considering I haven't done my shoulder press in a while. I got up to about 32.5 for a set of 5. That was about a month and a half ago, and obviously I'm having a bit of a niggle in one of my elbows and then also going on holiday and changing program, so I was doing shoulder press on a machine. First time using dumbbells in a while for shoulder press, so I'm happy enough. It's worth noting, and it's actually a bit of a rare thing to note, I am not putting those dumbbells down the way I need to. So next hit, I go back to the knee, the end of the floor, just bringing them to here and then just down. The heavier they get, the more uncomfortable it gets, and the more those dumbbells are just going to drive me down. So I need to be careful of that. Bring them back to the knee and then get rid of the dumbbells safely. Either that or just bring them down to here and then drop them. I can't just let the dumbbells pull my arms down. 2 exercises left. I wouldn't be shoulders, I suppose, without doing lateral raises and then some form of rear delts. So cable lateral raises first. For these I'm going with the cuff. My aim here is to think about dragging my hand along the floor, up the wall, make sure I'm not shrugging the shoulder as I lift the arm up. Another cue you might find useful for lateral raises, I heard this for rear delts, but I find it quite useful for lateral raises too, is think of getting your hand and the cable as far away from your shoulder as possible. So don't think about moving from A to B, think about getting as far away from the shoulder as possible. You should find you get a far better connection with your shoulder and not have your trap take over the lift, because your trap wants to take over the lift. It's greedy, it's massive. Lateral raise is done. 2 sets of rear delt flies to finish off shoulders. Right, last exercise of shoulders, rear delt. I would usually do these bench supported, but because it's so light, don't really need to. Main focus, keep the hands as far away from the shoulder as possible. If you think your upper back's taking over your rear delt flies, there's one easy way to figure it out. If your shoulder blades aggressively squeeze together, your upper back's probably going to take over the lift. Whereas I want to think about keeping my hands as far away from my shoulders as possible and not have my shoulder blades squeeze together. I find this helps me keep my upper back out of it and allows me to target rear delts slightly better. I get a better connection with rear delts anyway, but you need to figure out what works for you, as I always say, because everyone's going to be slightly different. I just find when I do that, then my upper back's like, give me that, I'll do that work for you. Your rear delts are tiny, you're not doing the work. Right guys, that'll bring us into today's session. If you want more videos like this, just subscribe to the channel. Cheers.